Welcome to the deep dive. You're here because you want to get informed quickly, effectively. And today we're tackling something really key for anyone thinking about more education: how to pay for it.
Yeah, financing. It's a big one.
Absolutely. So we've been looking into Study on Loan. It's a platform that says it simplifies getting education loans, whether you're studying here in India or, heading abroad.
Mm.
Our mission today: pull out the really important stuff about how they make financing more accessible and what the actual advantages might be for you, and that you could be an Indian student, an NRI, maybe an NRI helping out as a co-applicant, or even an international student.
It's true, isn't it? The dream of higher education, whether it's like a local university or some big international program,
Mhm.
often just hits this wall: funding.
Yeah,
And figuring out how to finance your studies, well, it can feel really complicated, overwhelming even for lots of people.
totally. And that seems to be exactly where Study on Loan comes in.
Yeah.
Looking at their materials, their whole goal seems to be taking that process, which can be pretty daunting, and making it, well, a lot less daunting.
Making it simpler, more transparent, easier to access.
Okay, so let's start digging into the specifics then. How are they actually trying to simplify things? What are the key advantages they're promoting?
Well, one of the first things that really jumps out is their focus on the application itself, streamlining it.
Okay.
They really push this completely digital online experience uh, designed to be hassle-free, quick.
Right. No mountains of paper.
Hopefully not. And this isn't just for students staying in India. They specifically mention it works for Indian students, NRI students who might be co-signing, and international students, too. Doesn't matter where you plan to study.
Hmm.
The idea seems to be let students focus on the actual studying while they handle a lot of the financial legwork online. Faster, more efficient.
That definitely sounds like a big plus right away. I mean, who has time for endless forms today?
Exactly.
And another thing they talk about is giving access to multiple lenders. So it's not just going to one bank, fingers crossed.
Precisely. And what's interesting there is the range of their network. They connect you with loads of different banks, sure, but also NBFCs, non-banking financial companies here in India.
Okay.
And crucially, lenders based abroad, too.
Ah, international ones as well.
Yeah. So having access to that wider pool, well, it logically increases your chances of finding loan terms, interest rates that actually fit your situation best.
Right.
It gives you a level of choice, comparison that you might struggle to get just going door to door, so to speak.
That makes perfect sense. More options, better chance of a good fit. Now, you hear education loan, and maybe you just think tuition fees.
Hmm.
But Study on Loan seems to suggest it's broader than that.
That's a really important point. Because the actual cost of being a student, it's way more than just the course fees, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Accommodation, food, books.
Right. And Study on Loan is clear that their loans can cover that whole spectrum of expenses. Doesn't matter if it's undergraduate, postgraduate, even vocational courses.
Okay.
So yeah, tuition, but also essentials like your accommodation, your living costs. And that applies if you're studying in India or abroad, where, let's face it, living costs can be significantly higher.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're looking at the whole picture of student expenses. That's definitely reassuring. Let's shift to the other end of it: repayment. That's always a big worry.
It is, and they address this by talking about flexible repayment
That's
options.
how so.
Well, they mention tailoring plans based on your kind of projected future income.
Mm.
That suggests a more adaptable approach.
Mm-hmm. Sensitive to your situation after you graduate.
Exactly. And crucially, they also talk about moratorium periods.
Ah, the grace period.
Yeah, basically a set time, usually after you finish your course, before you actually have to start making repayments. Gives graduates some breathing room to find a job, get settled financially.
That sounds incredibly valuable. That transition period can be tough. Another thing that stood out was their focus on competitive interest rates and, importantly, transparent pricing.
Yeah, nobody wants nasty surprises later on.
Definitely not.
So competitive rates, that obviously helps keep the overall costs down long term. And transparency, that's just vital for trust, isn't it?
Absolutely.
By saying upfront, no hidden charges, they're trying to remove a big source of anxiety that comes with borrowing money.
And what if you're lucky enough to be able to pay it back early? Any penalties for that?
Good question. They specifically highlight that there are no prepayment penalties.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it gives you flexibility. If your situation improves, you can pay off the loan faster without getting hit with extra fees. That can save you a fair bit on interest over time.
Okay. Now, for a lot of students, especially maybe younger ones or those going abroad without much credit history, a cosigner is often needed. How does Study on Loan fit into that?
They tackle that head on. They explain that, yes, having a creditworthy cosigner can definitely boost your chances of getting approved.
Right.
And potentially, it could also help you secure a lower interest rate. It's pretty standard practice in education loans, and they just lay out the benefits clearly.
And for our listeners who might be NRIs or have family members who are NRIs considering co-signing, it sounds like they've tried to make that smoother too.
That's right. Dealing with documents across different countries, different legal systems,
Hmm.
it can be a real headache for NRIs trying to help out.
I can imagine.
Study on Loan highlights a streamlined process specifically for NRIs. It suggests they know how to navigate those complexities, which would be a huge relief for families in that boat.
Like dealing with power of attorneys, perhaps. That often comes up.
Exactly. A power of attorney, that legal document, letting someone act for you. For an NRI dealing with Indian banks from overseas, getting that sorted can be complex and slow. It seems Study on Loan aims to ease that particular burden.
It sounds like they're trying to offer support right through the process, which leads to their mention of expert guidance. So it's not just a website, there are actual people involved.
That's the impression, yes. They talk about personalized support throughout the whole journey, from applying right through to getting the money released, having specialists guide you, especially if it's your first loan or you're dealing with international study complexities. That could be really valuable.
Okay, this all sounds good in theory, but real stories make it stick. And they shared one, didn't they? About Dilbag Singh and his wife.
Yes, and it's quite illustrative. Dilbag Singh, an NRI in the UK with his wife, talks about how difficult it was for them to get an education loan from Indian banks while they were both abroad.
A common problem, I guess.
Very common. They faced rejections, got frustrated, just trying to support education goals, whether back home or for themselves internationally.
So how did Study on Loan help them?
Well, according to Dilbag, Study on Loan stepped in, got their application looked at again by different lenders, and basically helped them secure the loan they needed.
Okay.
And he specifically mentions the hassle with arranging power of attorneys, that thing we just talked about.
Right.
He emphasizes how Study on Loan made that whole process simpler for them, guided them through it.
Must have taken a lot of stress off their shoulders. And did it work out well in the end?
It seems so.
Sure.
Because they got the loan, Dilbag's wife finished her MSc in international marketing, and now they're settled successfully in the UK.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and Dilbag strongly recommends them to other NRIs
Yeah.
facing similar issues. It really highlights the potential impact.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder how many other students get tangled up in that kind of red tape.
It really does. Those concrete examples show the human side of it all. So zooming out a bit, beyond just being a loan facilitator, what seems to be the core mission behind Study on Loan?
Their stated mission is empower dreams through education. They talk about making it accessible, stress-free for everyone. They express this belief that everyone has the right to chase their educational dreams, and they're committed to helping people overcome the financial barriers. So it sounds like it's more than just processing applications.
Right, about knocking down those financial walls. So if someone's listening now and thinking, okay, this sounds like it could help me, what's the best next step for them?
The most obvious step is probably their website. Study on Loan encourages people to explore it.
Okay.
You can find details on their loan products, the application steps, FAQs, all that practical stuff. And they provide contact info too, phone numbers, email if you have more specific questions.
And they mentioned having offices in various places.
Yeah.
Suggests a pretty wide reach.
Yes, they list locations across India, Dehradun, Delhi, Hyderabad, Chandigarh, and also internationally like London, Dubai, Toronto, Sydney, even Minnesota,
Wow.
which suggests they probably have a decent handle on the different needs of students from various parts of the world.
Right. So if we were to sum up this deep dive into Study on Loan, their main goal seems to be making education finance simpler and more accessible, really, for all sorts of students studying in India or internationally.
Yeah.
They're offering things like a smoother online application, connections to lots of lenders, covering all sorts of costs, flexible repayment, and expert help along the way, all aimed at empowering students.
That nails it. It really emphasizes their student-centric approach, trying to minimize the roadblocks to getting a good education.
It really does make you think, doesn't it? If you took away a lot of that financial complexity, it just simplified it. Imagine the potential that could be unleashed globally. What subject might you want to explore if funding felt less like a huge obstacle and more like just another step? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for digging into this with me today.